I wanted the Mavs to get him, but I think this is a good hire. I think he has shown the ability to be able to build an organization, taking you from the Nico Harrison days. You still have Jason Kidd as the coach. Now we'll see what happens with that because everybody all knows you bring in your guy and you have your guy come in to get to lead you to the promised land. So we'll see if Jason Kidd stays the coach, and if he brings in someone who's his guy. Was good, was good, was good. You are not watching Juke Boy Sports Show. That was a clip from me last week saying pretty much with Ujiri becoming the president of the Dallas Mavericks, Jason Kidd could very well end up on the chopping block. And hey, sometimes I know what I'm talking about. But hope everybody's doing good out there in TV land. Let's get started like we always do. If you're looking for a clean, genderless, no crash energy drink, use promo code JUKE, JUK for 20% off on W.com, DUBBY.W.com. And wherever you're here from, like, subscribe, comment, share. Talk to me, I talk back. I respond live on show. These are live shows 98% of the time. Just talk to me, I talk back. Subscribe at Juke Network. Let's continue to keep running those numbers up. Follow Juke Network on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. And then follow at Juke Sports Show, JUK Sports Show. And you can follow me at KYNGRALPH. We got a good episode ahead of us. I'm fresh off EDC. Got the EDC depression. No, I'm just playing. I got a text from the Insomnia app speaking about that. I thought it was kind of funny. But NBA playoffs is gone full effect. Cavs and Knicks just finished game one. Spurs and Thunder had a hell of a game last night. So Western Conference, first one, Spurs win game one against the defending Thunder. Hell of a game, man. I think ultimately for me, where I'm at with it, after seeing game one, at first I had a problem with the way that the Thunder were defending. Hold up. Let me get my mic. I just realized I never put my mic over here. I had a problem with the way that they were defending Wemby at first. Eventually, I understood what they were doing. And essentially, you use a small guard to stay in front of him so he can't get around people because he's pretty much a 7'5" guard. And then you use a big to come help on the weak side. And at first I had a problem with it. Eventually I was like, I'm kind of cool with it. As long as they do it right. I think that there are things that the Thunder can make an adjustment when it comes to Wemby that I think that they should make, to be honest with you. Yes, I think at the end of the day, when it comes to some superstars, you kind of just need to go with the hot hand. But on the defensive end, I'm just not a big proponent of letting my star be a star. So I think when it comes to those things, they just need to rotate the way that they do things. Like, I'm not going to let Wemby go off for 40. At the end of the day, I'm going to do my best to try to, if he is getting 40, he's going to take 30 shots to do so. And so I'm going to sit on some of those moves. He's pretty much going to go right spin move every time. And whoever is in that corner on the weak side, I'm going to take my chances with them. I'm going to take my chance with Keldon Johnson shooting the ball, Castle, Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Dylan Harper. And so I'm just like, I personally wouldn't go that route with letting Wemby just dominate in the paint. I think that do your work early, find him before the shot goes up, keep a body on him at all times. And I think that those are little adjustments that they can make, and we'll see what happens with it. But all in all, I think that they did what they need to do. Getting game one, shouts out to them. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think you just can't expect him to go 7 for 23 on a night where he gets the MVP. I think a really big key for the Thunder is what can they get from Chet Holmgren. And that's where, for me, I think it can be a little bit of a swing in the Thunder favor. I'm not saying he need to go out there and get 40 or 20, but I need at least 20-10 with a few blocks from him. 8 points is just not going to get it done. And so we got the Eastern Conference, Cavs, Knicks game just wrapped up. Cavs had a 20-point lead. Knicks end up coming back in overtime, 115 to 104. Jalen Brunson, 38 points. Mikal Bridges, 18. Cat, 13. OG, 13. Josh Hart, 13. So pretty much their major point contributors all were in double figures. Mitchell Robinson came in, gave them some good minutes off the bench. Good energy. Alvarado did his thing and what he normally would do, and they get the win. I think this game is essentially exactly what we thought it could be with the Cavs. Cavs have all the talent in the world, but I don't trust them to close games and close out series. James Harden is someone that you always need to keep your eye on. 15 points from James Harden, Evan Mobley with 15, and then Donovan Mitchell with damn near 30 off of 23 shots, shot around a little over 50%. And James Harden had 6 turnovers with 3 assists. I just think these are those moments where I'm just going to keep saying it. I don't trust. Hey, shout out to you. I appreciate you for popping in, love. I just don't trust them to be able to get it done. I don't think that I don't need, like I've said before, I think when it comes down to it, when you got your number 1 player, your number 2 player, and your number 3 options, there are certain realms that you're going to need those people in. You at least need pretty much 50 from your top 2 point getters. Then you need, if you're going to go to a third person, you're going to need around 60 to 70 combined between those 3 players. And so getting 29 points from Donovan Mitchell and then 15 and 15 from James Harden, you're looking at 59 points. Where in order to beat this Knicks team, you're going to have to match Cat, Mikal Bridges, and Jalen Brunson's output. 38, 18, so what's that? 48, 56, 59, 69 from your big 3, and pretty much you outscore the other big 3 by 10 points, is going to lead to a victory at the end of the day. Knicks came out physical, played well. Cavs played well at first, but they just weren't able to keep up. And so essentially I'm going to go Thunder in 7, Knicks in 6. And then next up, technology. Lord, why is my stuff going off? Stop it. Cut it out. Technology in sports, man. It's got me. It's a big conversation and things that something's got my attention a lot right now. Things like analytics, how technology is changing the game. Is technology good for sports? And I must say yes on the most part. I do think that there are certain avenues with all this technology that we have that I would assume that you would be able to get things right when it comes to challenges, getting calls correctly, making sure that we get the best things for our athletes, the best thing for this fan experience. But I do think that to some degree, when it comes to the actual play on the field or court, this is where we have those issues of technology being a bad thing. When we start to talk about analytics, while really being good, and you can even, like last night I was mentioning, like analytics can tell you to the T of how often a person goes right versus they go left. Whether or not they go this way versus a smaller defender, or this way versus a bigger defender. And so I think those are the things where it can be good, but when you're so solely resting on analytics, that's where things can go bad. That's where you start to talk about the 3-point shot versus the mid range. In baseball, when we start talking about bunting, moving the runner ahead versus how often people now strike out trying to get home runs. Then on top of that as well, we start talking about football. How often people are now going for it on fourth down. And that's the part for me where sometimes you got to take those points. Sometimes you got to do the little small things that will lead to victories. And that's where I think that we start to lean more one way than the other. And that's where I have my biggest issues with technology in sports. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I do think that it can be a bad thing if things aren't handled properly. It's, and so back to my summer storylines. The Wizards have the number one pick. AJ DeBonza did not look happy. Darren Peterson at one point was someone that people were arguing to be the number one pick in this draft. There's Wilson. There's Cameron Boozer. Who should the Wizards draft? And when you start to look at the Wizards roster, we got Trae Young. I don't see a reason to trade him. You have an Anthony Davis who I could see, D'Lo. I could see pieces that could possibly be moved, or do you just use them as pieces to build your team up? You already have Alex Sarr, who you took a top 3 pick a couple years ago. Bilal Coulibaly, last year's first round draft pick. Trey Johnson. You trade for a Cam Whitmore. Big body, strong athlete, defender, 3-and-D type of guy, a Julian Reese, rotational big that can rebound the hell out the basketball. And these are the things where I think when we start to have these conversations, I think when you got the number one pick, I think sometimes you got to go ahead and just go with the in-your-face pick. I do think that there are times where you start to think at what point, all right, you got Alex Sarr, you got Anthony Davis, Julian Reese. Do I need DeBonza to come in and play the 4, small 5, or can DeBonza play the 3 alongside of Anthony Davis, Alex Sarr, Coulibaly, Julian Reese? These are the conversations that we need to have. And does he want to be there? Because at the end of the day, if you have a player who just doesn't want to be there and wants to be somewhere else, why would I take you and risk chemistry while also just locker room issues? And so in this moment, I could see them taking a Darren Peterson, the ability to get to the bucket, get to a bucket, decent defender when locked in. As long as he cures up those cramping issues and the amount of minutes he plays, you slide him next to a Trae Young, Anthony Davis, D'Lo off the bench, Alex Sarr, and Cam Whitmore of some sort of starting 5 to go, and you let them go crazy. And I think that gives you something to be happy about from a fan standpoint. Trae Young, Anthony Davis, Alex Sarr, Trey Johnson from last year, and then you go ahead and you bring in a Darren Peterson or an AJ DeBonza, depending on what kind of lineup you go with. I say go AJ, but I do think that I would at least try to have the honest conversation of him wanting to be there, that I could possibly see them going in another direction. Now, I don't know what that direction is. I hope that whoever's in front of the Bulls leaves Caleb Wilson alone, and so he can slide to us, but we shall see. And so I swear I have not gave my opinion on this one yet. I think I gave the opinion as far as like how things were from the Ty Simpson side. I think this is the perfect spot for him. With an offensive mind like a Sean McVay, you got a veteran Matthew Stafford in front of him. But from the Rams standpoint, was this a good move? And I don't think so. I think we overvalue the quarterback position to where players that were drafted in that realm, like Let's look up who was drafted after. And so when you got players like that and you draft a quarterback, but there are players that you could have used, um, you could have went offensive lineman. You could have went. Uh, while this pulls up, y'all, I appreciate your patience. But yeah, you could have used players that could have affected your day to day right then and there. You look at you could have drafted Ruben Bain. You could have drafted Kenyon Sadiq. You could have got Makai Lemon and put him next to Puka as well as Devontae. And so I think that there are just players that could have affected winning now to where I do think in the end how important a quarterback is, giving him time to develop. Matthew Stafford is coming off an MVP year. Sean McVay is one of the best offensive minds in football. He is shown to be able to develop and help quarterbacks along the way. So we'll see how it works out. But I just think from a Rams standpoint, passing on Vega Ione, that went to the Ravens, passing on Ruben Bain, passing on a Kenyon Sadiq, passing on a Makai Lemon. I just think that these are players that I wouldn't have passed on. You even could have went Messidor as well, who was an edge, outside linebacker. But going quarterback who's going to sit for at least a year bare minimum, I'm not a big fan of it. And so fast break, yo, I'm playing, and this goes back to the technology thing. When did the strike zone change? So I'm playing MLB The Show. It's a baseball game, and so on the pitcher I'm up against, he throws a pitch on the outside part of the plate. The ball does not touch the strike zone in my mind. So it's called a ball. The catcher reviews it. They review it. It ends up being called a strike. Now, my interpretation of what a strike was always if majority of the ball was in the strike zone, it should then be called a strike. Unbeknownst to me, this is something that's even been a topic of conversation now that we no longer, not that we don't have umpires calling strikes, but they're using more technology to pick up on these strikes, where I think now the interpretation of what a strike is has changed a bit. This is where I think, like what I ended up finding out, they put if the ball so much touches the line of where the strike zone is, it's a strike. Kind of similar to a touchdown being a touchdown. Any part of the ball breaks the white line, it is then a touchdown. And that's the part for me where I just was like, all right, when did this change? If y'all know, write it in the comments because I'm flabbergasted, dumbfounded, and every person I spoke to seems to be on the same accord with me. And so I seen, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, going into the WNBA season. Paige Beckers was picked by a lot of executives and GMs as a player that they would rather have start their franchises with. Caitlin Clark has probably the most popular, if not the most popular player. A lot of people, if you know ball, are leaning more Paige. Who do you pick? Me personally, I think when it comes to right now, currently as they stand, I think a lot of us who were not paying attention, and this may come off as hate, but Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark, Paige was a better player at a younger age and affected winning. It wasn't really until Caitlin was like a sophomore is when we really started to really started to get it buzz. During that same time period, though, is where Paige Beckers blows her knee out. And so that's the thing for me. I think when we go back through time and watch their developments, Paige Beckers has always been a more complete player than Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark can shoot the long ball and has a more assists at a higher clip. I do personally think she gets a higher usage rate. Now that's the part for me that I don't have the stats to back that up. It's just more of a my eyes on the game, how I'm seeing things. But both of them, their rookie seasons, 19.2. Caitlin had 8.4 assists. Paige had 5.3. Caitlin had 5.7 rebounds. Paige has 3.9. Paige is a better defender, more efficient when scoring, and nowhere near the turnovers that Caitlin Clark has. I gotta look up and see Paige, but I know Caitlin Clark is averaging like 5, 6 turnovers a game, and that for me is where I start to have my problems with Caitlin Clark. I think that too often she plays a little soft on one side and plays a role that doesn't really get exploited or talked about a whole lot unless you're someone like me who's considered a Caitlin Clark hater. But turning the ball over like that, not being the strongest defender, those are things that'll get you beat when it really truly matters the most. And that's where, for me, if I want my star player that's going to be able to have the ball in their hands, Caitlin probably is a better facilitator. But at the same time, I would rather take a little less facilitating if you're going to turn the ball over. How y'all feel about it? Does Aaron Rodgers give the Steelers a chance to make some noise in the AFC? I don't think it really truly matters, to be honest with you. I think that Aaron Rodgers is past his prime. I think that now the Steelers did help themselves. You go, I do believe. Hold up. Because I know they brought in Michael Pittman Jr. They already had the likes of a Metcalf. They bring in an offensive lineman. They get Jeremy Bernard from Alabama in the second round. They draft Drew Allar at quarterback. So now you got Will Howard and him learning from Aaron Rodgers. And then I think that gives them some kind of, as long as he cannot turn the ball over. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is to the point where he's pushing the ball down the field. I do think you do need some receivers, big body receivers that can go ahead and help out in that intermediate game. But I just don't see, unless the defense gets better and they hold teams to less, I just don't see them really making a whole lot of noise. I see the Ravens being much better. I really see them being the worst team in the AFC North. So if not, fight might be the Browns with that, but they're not far off. I don't think they're that much better of a team than the Cleveland Browns. And reports say Deshaun Watson looks good, so we'll see what he looks like with that Todd Monken in that Todd Monken offense. But I just don't see it, man. I'm not here for it. And then prayers out to Rakia Jackson. She's had a heck of a 365 days. I think, and she tears her ACL over the weekend, and so I just want to send prayers and shout out and love to her. Wishing a speedy recovery. Hope all is well. I know the mental aspects of what a knee injury looks like, along with things that have gone in your personal life that have been publicized. So sending prayers out to her, hoping for a speedy recovery, and I hope she comes back a better player. And then I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. I called it last week. Ujiri, former executive from the Raptors, even won Executive of the Year, I believe at least once, if not twice, with the Toronto Raptors, now is the president of the Dallas Mavericks. I talked about last week. Whenever that happens, teams tend to bring in their guy. The Chicago Bulls bring in Bryson Graham, and I forget my man's name. But the coach of the Bulls, he ends up quitting prior to the president being signed. And so now the Bulls are looking to get their guy. And so these are those moments where when you have your own regime, you want to be able to trust the guy that's making a decision on the court, and you want to get your guy in and at least be on the same path. Who knows what happened? Maybe Jason Kidd didn't want to be there. Maybe he didn't see the vision that Ujiri was presenting to him. And so I don't think it's a bad thing. In the end, If I'm the Bulls, I go and I take a look. I have a conversation with Jason Kidd, and I have a conversation with Tiago Splitter. Everyone else, I'm just not like super wooed by it. Maybe I could be wrong, but I think that Tiago Splitter, the job that he did with the Portland Trailblazers this year, he deserves a head coaching opportunity. If it's not with Portland, if I'm the Bulls, hey, I would uh, tap the well to see what we can get out of it. Jason Kidd, I think, has shown that he can be a good head coach when you give him a capable roster. So we'll see what happens from here. If I'm the Bulls, I pick up the phone and see what that conversation looks like. But in the end, thank you all for watching. I do got to get up out of here doing a little bit of a short show. But like I always say, like, subscribe, comment, share, wherever you're here from. I appreciate you all for the support and the love. Keep rocking with your boy. Got some more cannabis reviews coming up. Got some more album review that I got to post. Two Goobs going crazy right now. Just dropped a new episode, so make sure you go check that out. And I'm probably going to start getting to the point of doing a second episode later in the week, but we'll see how we feel. Right now, I have the time to do so, so I'm not sure. But let me know if you're interested in doing it or if you would like for me to do it. But I do got to get up out of here. I appreciate y'all for watching. Love, peace, excuse me, and chicken grease.